I'm Cassie.
And I'm Emily.
And welcome to our second episode of our Sip and Saves here at Savvy Scents.
We have one of our favorite drinks. What are we drinking tonight?
This is a sweet cinnamon tea from Tazo, and it's like a hug in a mug.
I am just kind of copying her. I'm trying it for the first time. It's so good.
It's really good,
yeah,
right?
I love it. So we have our matching mugs, and we want you to grab your favorite drink as well and get ready for our sip and save. We have a great discussion plan for you guys today.
Yes, we are going to be talking about misconceptions of budgeting.
Yeah.
So we have 4 different talking points that we're going to hit on that we feel like are the most important misconceptions about budgeting, and we're going to kind of dissect each of those, and hopefully it'll be relevant to you.
Yeah, if you're somebody who, has tried budgeting, but you feel like it's not for you, or you feel like there's a lot of, stereotypes around it, you're not the only one. It's really common. So we're going to just jump right in. The first one is just thinking that if you budget, you're a tightwad. That's kind of who you are if you are going to budget.
I feel like that one is huge. I feel like when people find out that I like to budget, I feel like that's almost the first thing out of their mouth is, oh, so you're super cheap?
Yeah, or the subject changes right away, and you're like, this...
you don't get it.
They don't want to talk about
Let's dig
this.
deeper here.
Yeah, I actually have a friend, and we were talking once about this, and she was saying that until she hadn't really budgeted, but they always had made enough to cover their expenses. But it was until she budgeted that she realized how much money they could save. So she's not a tightwad. She, they spend money on what they want to spend it on. Yeah.
Which is what we always talk about too. We always talk about I feel like that's one of the things that we try to talk about on our channel is you're in charge of your money. Be frugal where you want to be frugal, but, spend your money where if you like designer bags, then be frugal in areas so that you can afford your designer bag,
Exactly. It's just kind of knowing where your money is. It has nothing to do with
exactly
how
that's
cheap you
key. Knowing where your money is going.
Right. And I also think it's when you, you said, you want to spend it on designer bags, well, maybe you want to save a lot. It helps you make decisions of, where...
Exactly.
What you're going to do with your money. And so it really is just, empowering.
I agree.
And it totally, once you know that and accept that, it just totally blows that stereotype out of the water, I think.
I agree. It's just, hard, though. I feel like if you're somebody who feels, passionate about budgeting and then you're talking with somebody, I know I kind of don't know what to say sometimes. So, what are some things that people could say?
If the other person's not into it?
So they don't feel judged,
Yeah, I mean, I think, I kind of know my people that I can talk to about it.
Me
and
too,
then if they are not interested, that's fine with me. I'm kind of we'll just, so I don't know. I'm not the best person to ask, actually. I don't know what I would say. Because, it's like any topic. Some people don't want to, broach a subject with you. And I don't know why it's such a hot button topic.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Probably.
I think because there's stereotypes around it, that you're cheap if you budget.
Or you might, they might think that you're going to judge them
for not budgeting.
Or something. Which, I'm always, so concerned about, what I'm doing in my budget. I don't even think about what other people are doing.
Yeah, no.
So I think that's...
I totally love what you said, though. I feel like that's, the nail on the head. Budgeting is basically, empowering yourself to know exactly where your money is going, and that's what I love about it. I love when I sit down, because honestly, let's be real, when I'm oh, I need to sit down and do my budget and, reconcile my credit card, I don't always get stoked off of that.
No. I don't either. I'm okay, I've got to do this.
Yes, but, today I logged into our bank account, and I saw... I got the reminder, oh, we got paid. And I get excited because I get excited to move that money to my sinking funds because I love watching my vacation.
Yeah. Seeing the progress.
Yeah, the progress feels huge.
And that can be applied to anything. If you're paying off debt.
Totally.
You can see with those goals, you can see those getting with chiseled down, or you're trying to
or
save.
if you're trying to like pay off your mortgage faster, like watching that go down feels great.
Yeah, it feels great, but it's like
daunting.
You're like, okay, we have 20 more years.
I know.
But like,
you know what's so cool and so fun to do is a lot of the banks will have like a mortgage calculator, so you can put in like, say you put like $50 extra a month. It'll show you like how much you'll save in interest. And I love messing around with that. And it feels like so incentivizing. You're like, oh my gosh, I could just not eat out like one time this month and put that money towards that, and we would shave 15 years off or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It just feels like, I don't know why, it just like gets me excited.
Yeah, for sure. So I think like the bottom line is, with the whole tightwad stereotype and budgeting, it's really more about like making better decisions and knowing where your money goes, right?
Totally.
So I think that kind of goes into the next point, which is that if you budget, you're not really generous.
Yeah. And actually,
that can be also a touchy subject.
Yes. And I honestly think that that's why people, I do feel like that is one of the reasons that people do shy away from budgeting a little bit. Like they think like, oh, I can't give generously to friends, or I can't buy presents for people. And like I know for me that's not true. I feel like the last 5 years of my life I've been more generous than I ever have been, and that's all because of budgeting, because we've been able to see where our money is going and make decisions about where we want that money to go. And I have a couple of charities that I feel super passionately about, and my husband does as well, and so we're able to give to them, and it feels so good.
Yeah, I think like what you're saying is basically like with the budget you prioritize, and generosity looks different for everybody, right?
Totally.
And that's like 100% fine. I know for me, like I grew up in a home where a lot was given to us because we were, more in financial need, and so that's something I've had to work on, is working on giving to others more and making that more of a priority in my budget. And so it is like, it's just the balance, I think. But I will say that when that is a priority, it definitely feels good. Like it feels right,
sure. Well, and so with, the last couple of years, I've known quite a few people who have gotten ill, and it feels so good to be able to afford to take families' food when they're struggling a little bit or they're not feeling very well. Like for me, that feeds my soul. So it's great to have the budget, to know that we can make room in our budget to be able to help others. Like that feels great.
What do you think about like if you are on a really tight budget and like say, a friend wants to like go do something with you and you're like, I can't do that because I'm on a tight budget. I guess that's not really generosity, but like there are times when your budget's so tight that it's hard, you have to take care of your own basic needs first to add generosity in.
I agree.
And I think there are like other ways besides like monetarily that you can be generous too.
I agree.
If you're having financial struggles and aren't able to do that, by serving other people and like doing kind deeds as well. So there's all types of different generosity, and I think it's just about like making room in your budget for it if you want that to be a priority. But just because you're on a budget doesn't mean like you don't want to be generous.
No.
Even if you're tight, right, with your money.
Agree.
I don't know, it's just like one. I was thinking like if it's really tight, because I know we were like that growing up.
Same. Well, not that long ago, I was going through respiratory therapy school, and we were living on one income, and it was very, very, very tight. And I remember, every hospital that I rotated through, I just really appreciated the nurses and the RTs that were there to help us. And so I would make like hot, like, and we were on such a tight budget, but I would make little hot cocoa packets for all of them and just like a sweet little note. And I feel like that was me like trying to serve them in a way and just like let them know that I just appreciated their generosity and their kindness. And so I think even like a sweet note.
Yeah, or like a gesture of gratitude.
Yeah, I think that just like goes a long way.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point. That's perfect. Okay, we also kind of wanted to talk about how that you have to be frugal if you budget. That's kind of a misconception, we would say.
I agree.
That you have to be frugal. I like, what are your thoughts? What do you think as far as that goes? Like,
I think that you can be frugal however you want to be frugal. And I think, like we were saying in the very beginning, budgeting basically just shows you where your money is going. So money isn't infinite. So you will you get your paycheck and then you just have to figure out what's important to you in your life. And like I said before, maybe you want designer clothes or designer handbags, but you don't have enough money to buy that stuff all the time. You might have to be frugal in some small ways. Like maybe you make coffee at home instead of going to Starbucks every day. Or little things like that, because I really do feel like it's the little teeny purchases that we make throughout the day.
They add up.
Those are the purchases that really are budget hitters because they feel minuscule in the moment, but then like when you go and reconcile your accounts, you don't even realize. You're like, I spent $50 today and didn't even realize
half of your eating out budget.
Exactly.
You're like, great, we're at the 5th of the month.
Yes, exactly. So what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was thinking with the whole, this is like for me, like the core of what motivates me in budgeting is being frugal in certain areas so that I don't have to be frugal in others. Yeah. If that makes any sense. So, like, for example, like we were planning a trip to Disneyland, but it's a secret for my kids. And so we, like, I'm planning parts of that trip to be really frugal so that we can, like, eat out in the park and not have to worry about that.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's different, like, you kind of, it's again, like you look at the budget, you see where you have room. I'm really frugal with our kids' clothes and I try to like save money on that. Yeah. And that way, like we have more room to like do their extracurricular activities.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that to me is like what motivates me.
Yeah. I'm the same exact way.
Yeah.
Like we really value like vacations and traveling. And so I'd rather try to make accommodations in other parts of our budget so that we can take those trips and do that stuff. So what would you just say to somebody who's like really, really struggling?
Right. Like everything is so tight in your budget that it's like hard to find room.
Because we get it. We've both been there.
Like I put myself through college.
Same.
And I had a budget and that was like what got me through.
Me too.
But I think it's really important when you're super, super tight with money to find the areas that are your strengths with being frugal, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, if you're good at, like, finding deals, like...
Or couponing. If you're good at couponing and all that stuff, because where we live in California, couponing is really hard.
And here's the honest truth. Like, find out what your strengths are. I've never figured out couponing. I'm not good at finding deals. That's not my strength. But I am good at like finding like just being frugal in certain areas, like and not spending the money there. So you just have to find your strength. If you are someone who's good at, I have friends who are so good at like using all the like points and rewards and deals. I mean, if like you're one of them, I have other friends who do that too. And I sit there and I'm just like, I don't get it. But if that's something you do, then really hone in on those strengths so that you can free up a little bit of room in your budget. What do you think?
I agree with you. Yeah, for sure.
Because we've all been there where it's like so tight, you don't know how you're gonna like make it, or you might be overspending a little bit when you don't have the money, and it's so stressful.
It's really, really, really stressful. I will say this is kind of like an odd thing to say, but I'm just gonna say it. So I think it's also important to make room for fun, even when it's so tight. Yes. So when I was in RT school, my friends and I would do this thing called Tapas Chef. And do you remember Top Chef?
I know what it is, but I never saw it.
Yeah. So there were 4 or 5 of us. I think 5 of us. And each of us would make like something, like an appetizer for each of us, like a tapas.
Fun. Like a little snack.
Yes. And then we would all eat it and then watch Top Chef. And I made sure to make room in my budget
to do that,
so that I could do that, because it wasn't a whole bunch of money, but for us it was. Right. And so
it fed your soul.
It did. And it didn't cost a lot, but it was so fun. And so I just wanted to remind people that when it's like so tight and hard, like to find those little pockets where you can carve out just a little bit to have fun, because it is super important.
It's like necessary.
It is.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's very necessary.
Yeah, for sure. And also, just to put a little plug in, we do have a lot of videos on like you did one on fun and frugal outdoor activities.
Yes, for sure.
Fun and frugal date night ideas, money saving tips, and also like a lot on budgeting too, where we kind of share like how we come up with like how much we budget in each category and things like that, which also hopefully is helpful to you guys
for sure
when you're figuring out on a tight budget how to have fun and be more frugal.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So what's the 4th thing?
4th thing? Check. It's my brain. I can only remember when I go to the grocery store, if I have more than 3 things written down, I don't remember them.
Yes. Well, I remembered the 2nd thing, but that's it.
Okay, the 4th one is so good, actually, because I think we all can relate to this. If you overspend, you're not a good budgeter, and you're not cut out for budgeting.
Yeah.
If you overspend on a regular basis.
So just quit.
Yeah, you're done. You're nothing. No.
Yeah, so a little behind the scenes. I overspend in my grocery budget every month. It's that my grocery budget is the bane of my existence. And it just has gotten worse the last couple of years. Because things just keep like...
The prices are rising too.
Going. And
kids get older and they eat more.
True. That's very true.
So there are like... But I'm the same way.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And I keep trucking through. And we talked about this a little bit on our last save. Pardonnez-moi. But basically, when I go over, I find the money in other categories and then transfer that over to make it 0. So if I'm going over, that means we won't eat out as much that month, or we won't have clothes, like I won't have a clothes budget that month, or whatever. I just look at what we have and take from those other budgets to make it equal out.
That's such a savvy tip. Yeah, I think I agree. And it's also just,
no one's perfect.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to mess up at budgeting. It's especially when you do it all the time, like it's a fluid thing and it's always changing and no one's going to get it 100%. No one ever does. And that's totally fine. And that doesn't mean you fail. It just means you just try it again and hope to do better next time.
Okay, I remember what I was going to say.
Okay, good. Yeah.
A little brain freeze moment. Mom brain, what's happening? No, I was going to say like this, I was just thinking of this, like budgeting is like a muscle.
Yeah, for sure.
I look back budgeting is always something that's been important to me, but I look back like 5 years ago, and now, like, for example, I can kind of recognize, like, I'll get to the middle of the week, and like Monday, I'll be like getting stuff done around the house, like catching up over the weekend. Then Tuesday, it's like kind of still the same, running, like, just at home getting stuff done. And by Wednesday, I'm like, I need to go out and run some errands. And like, I'll think of a few places to go, and then like, I'll spend money that I necessarily didn't really plan on spending. So now I've kind of recognized that in myself. Whereas like years ago, I would have not even thought twice about it and just have spent the money and like put it in my budget, but just been none the wiser. And so I think like you realize things over the years. So give yourself grace to be able to realize those habits in yourself.
I agree.
Where you like have certain tendencies to do something, and maybe sometimes you still go and it's okay, but like you can at least recognize it and then make that a little stronger in the future, just like a muscle, I think.
Yeah, that resonates so much with me because this is something that I've realized too. It's really funny because so last year we adopted the word simplicity, and I like awesome. Went through our whole house and we decluttered like a ton of stuff, and from that, truly, I will do the same thing. By like Wednesday, Thursday, I'm like,
to go out.
I feel like everybody else is like out there like running errands. I haven't like been out yet this week. You know,
I'll be like, I could go peruse like a store, like Sears or something, or like just see what's out there.
Exactly.
And, like, no,
I check my list and I'm like, we don't need anything, but it still might be fun to go. And then it's so funny because like I'll go. And I don't know if this happens to you, but like I'll get a cart, and the longer I'm in the store, I look at the thing and I'm like, I don't really need that. So like literally I like start taking stuff out of my cart, and it feels so good. But so I totally get what you're saying. I'm the same way. Like I'm always like, oh, I should go out and spend money, you know? But I have been better about not doing that recently.
Right. What do you think about like overspending when you can't overspend? Like
when you can or cannot?
When you cannot. Like when your budget is such that like you are, you're so like everything financially is so tight, like you can't go over. What would you say to somebody who like is a struggle? It's still a struggle every month to
What I would say to somebody who does that is I have this tip that I have been meaning to share.
Okay.
So, if you have a specific grocery budget and you go to a specific grocery store, what I would say is, say it's Safeway. Here we have a Safeway. I know that's not nationwide, but say you have a Safeway. Go to Safeway when you get paid. And whatever your grocery budget is, buy a gift card for that amount of money. And then you have that gift card for the month. And so you know that you cannot spend any more money than that. And so that way you're really strict. Or do cash envelopes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. There's a lot of people we follow on social media that do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot.
Yeah, so I think you have to just figure out what works best for you. Some people don't like to carry that much cash on them. And so the gift card thing, I have started doing that with Amazon.
Oh.
Because we have...
Do you have an Amazon budget or just...
No, so we have a subscribe and save where I get like our dishwasher pods through them and like our laundry detergent and stuff like that. And I know how much that costs, and so I'll get like an Amazon gift card and that much so that I'm not getting a ton, like when it ships out, I'm not getting a ton of like Amazon charges on our credit card, and it's helping me stay on track and not get and reconcile it. Yeah, exactly.
It's so annoying. They need to fix. Someone
needs to fix that. I know. I agree with you because it's a lot, and it's a lot.
That's the worst part.
Yeah.
Really.
No,
that's good. That's a good you're saying set aside.
So that way you're like really strict with it, and it kind of takes the guesswork out of it.
Yeah. I think that's a good.
What about you? Do you have any tips to share?
I mean, my only thing, like I'll overspend oftentimes, like when I'm like sometimes when my kids are stressing me out and I'm just like, I just need to get this. I can't like think straight.
Yeah.
So maybe picking times if you need to shop, like when you are able to focus a little bit more and like, put a little more mind and like thoughtfulness into it.
Too. Or and like not in a rush, like not when you're like,
it's so hard when you're rushed. Yeah. You're like, I don't even care if to like get it.
Exactly.
I don't care what the price is. Like I need to eat, and that so that's.
And to stop yourself from like say you're on like a super strict budget, and you're like, I kind of just want to go to the store and walk around. What I have started doing is just taking a walk.
Yeah, like having something you do.
And putting a podcast in or putting one of my audiobooks in from the library. And So just finding something else that you enjoy that doesn't cost money. Like call up a friend and be like, hey, do you want to come over and walk with me? Or hey, do you want to come over and chat? I feel like that's super helpful for me.
Yeah. Like the bottom line is if you overspend, you actually are like cut out for budgeting.
Yes, exactly.
We all do it.
Of course.
No one's perfect at it. Everybody has different ideas of how it should be done. You figure out what works best for you.
Yeah, you just have to find your own groove.
Yeah,
and it just takes time to do that. You have to like I budget differently than Emily. So we get paid twice a month, and so I basically take each paycheck and allocate all the different money categories towards that, and Emily does it totally different, and it works for both of us, and so you just have to kind of figure out your groove and what works for you.
So make sure to check out
our videos about budgeting.
Anyways, great discussion.
Yes,
we love doing these, and we hope that you'll join us for our future videos as well.
And we want to hear from you in the comments.
Yes.
So we want to know about the people that are watching our videos. We want to get to know you guys more. So put a comment down below where you are from. We're from California, and we can't wait to hear from where you're from. So go ahead and like and subscribe to Savvy Sense so that you can be a part of our wonderful community here.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.